Setting up your meeting on Facebook.
Welcome, 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 everybody. We are live on Facebook, so it says.
Oh, we are? Okay.
We are.
We are. How does it get any better than that? So you can okay,
I will share it onto my timeline.
Share it. And now we
welcome, everybody. We are live on Facebook, so it says.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah.
How does it get any better than that? So I'm going to, how do I hear?
I will share it onto my timeline.
Okay. So I'm muted on the Facebook.
Thank you. That was very loud. I stayed quiet. So this is Spongy. Yeah, and there's a lot of emotions going on right now. You know.
Okay, so we are recording on the cloud. Wonderful.
And I see Cheryl there too. That's awesome. Yes. How does it get even better than that?
So today's topic is about picking up other people's thoughts and emotions, being the sponge for all of those things.
Which is actually really, really brilliant and really, really interesting, because I found that this talent and ability and capacity that we have as humanoids to perceive so much of what goes on around us typically is so like natural to us that it gets dismissed. And then it's not looked at as a capacity, it's looked at as there's a wrongness in my world. You know, my head hurts, I'm depressed, there's so much stuff, and we don't see that we have this superpower actually. And we're taking that and scamming us
and sucking it in. But do we have to? Do we have to suffer with other people? Do we have to?
So this reality is all about suffering and pain and gory and difficulty. No, isn't it?
Of course it is. But what if there is another choice? What if we can be happy? What if we can be joyful? It's interesting, we pick up and sponge, and kind of like a sponge, pick up all those depression and anger and fears. What if we start picking up the joy and ease and laughter?
I love that, Helen. I love that. That would be so amazing. And caveat, the majority of the people that are walking with their eyes open, although they may be half asleep, on this planet at this time are broadcasting frustration, sadness, aggravation, misery, regret, trauma, drama.
Let's destroy that. Let's give it up.
Well, I'm certainly happy to do that. I'm just seeing all of that around us. And to me, it just looks like such insanity, because that seems to be.
Because I love Access Consciousness because it has amazing tools of letting go of all of those things that we don't have to pick them up.
Yeah.
The amazing tool I'm talking about that I just recently discovered, who does it belong to? Which is amazing, because if we know that 99.99% does not belong to us.
Okay, so pause. Extremely important. Most therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, you name it, they will tell you that this is real and this is true, and what you're feeling is something that you've got to, you know, deal with for the rest of your life. I was diagnosed as bipolar. There was no quote unquote hope. You know, there was no like, oh, you're actually perceptive. What a concept. No, nobody ever even acknowledged that such a thing could exist. And here you are saying 99% of everything doesn't belong to us. So before we jump into letting it go, tell us, what is that? What is that?
Interesting. Psychiatry and psychology, by the way, did not exist until about 150, 170 years ago. Not until Sigmund Freud decided to talk about it, there was no psychiatry and psychology. he is considered the father of psychiatry.
Cute
Because
little
before, yeah, before it was either exorcism, prayers, healing, a lot of things was done by letting go. And people knew that a lot of things were not theirs. Because we are psychics, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We are not, think about it. This is the body, that's fine. But we have an aura. We have an aura around us. We have energetic bodies that go anywhere from 5 feet or like a couple of meters if people from Europe are watching us,
Yeah.
to about 70 meters, which is about 200 feet.
And probably even more, I'd say.
Probably even more. And we'll talk about like expansion because we're contracted even in that kind of like small space. But even talking about 200 feet radius, there are people who are thinking, there are people who are feeling and depressed. When we walk into the room, if people are depressed there or angry, what happens to us? We become angry. We kind of like angry, frustrated. When we go into the room when people are happy, we get happy because we're sensing it. By the way, we don't have to take it on. That's
the key. That's the key. You just said we're sensing it.
mm-hmm.
And it happens, like I've had experiences where I've gone into the mall and I was fine walking in and suddenly splitting headache, in the mall. We're so highly tuned, you could say, so finely tuned to perceiving all of these different energies around us. And just because we don't see it with our eyes doesn't mean that it's not there energetically and affecting us, as it's a vibration that's out there.
Exactly. It's a vibration, and its purpose to let us know what happens around us, to protect us. So we are aware. But somehow over a period of time, hundreds of years, or even maybe because of psychiatry, we'll learn that those emotions are ours, no matter if it's not. They still belong to us. And we have to consider them. We have to look at them. We have to dissect them. And only after that, we can let it go. What if we don't have to?
And this is revolutionary, Helen. This is revolutionary, like on so many different levels, because some people will say, well, you're a medical doctor, right? So nobody's got a fucking right to, sorry, excuse the language, but nobody has a right to say anything to you or whatever, because you're a doctor, you supposedly know. You wear the M-deity coat. You are the god of medicine, walking around and saying, well, this is how it affects the human body. How many times did you see people who had, different diseases, be it cancer, be it, something else, be it an ulcer? Well, what's eating you on the inside? What thoughts and feelings and emotions and other kind of things are you using and internalizing and using even against the body? Most of the ailments in the body aren't necessarily just a physical source. They come from everything that's on the outside that we're perceiving, that we're sensing with, through, and as our body.
And my invitation is right now, like if you have anything in your body, any emotions that bothering you, let's say sadness, anger, frustration, depression, whatever it is, just sense it. And
a lot of frustration because they just shut the country down further. Airport won't open now until the middle of August, supposedly. So, yeah, there's all sorts of things like that going on in the world.
Let's ask the question, who does that belong to?
Not mine.
No. Would you be willing to let go and return it back to sender? By the way, when you're returning it, it doesn't go back. Because of the consciousness, it's just getting dissolved. The
It goes
unity
to the source, and the
is the
source of
source.
everything is consciousness. So by the time it goes back, you're not hurting another person. And I'll give an example. I learned this tool years ago when I went to my first bars class, and I remember coming back to Guatemala and speaking to my sister-in-law, who at that time was still living here, and she was diabetic. And I said to her, "So who does this diabetes belong to?" She was diagnosed when she was 17 or 18 or something like that, right? And I asked her, "Who does this belong to?" It didn't even take her a split second to say, "My dad," right?
Mhm.
"Will you return it?" Even though I explained to her, it goes back to source. He doesn't get hurt. No,
No.
mine. It's mine. I've got to stay with this thing. Okay. 3 years later, 4 years later, he passed away. She happened to be in Guatemala, packing up her apartment and all that, moving back to the States. He had passed away, and I said to her, a few years ago, I asked you a question about the diabetes, and you said it belonged to your dad. Your dad passed away. So, truth, who does this belong to, and would you like to return it back? And she said, no. Even though he passed away, no.
Yeah.
It's her way, and if you're listening, sorry, Mel. It's this,
Because it's honoring her dad.
yeah, and it's this connection with him, because he was diabetic too, as was her older sister, as is her older sister. And so it's a really interesting thing, this interesting web of connectivity, belonging, community. I am my disease, or I am my diagnosis, I am my whatever.
Mhm.
You don't get to be you, yet you belong to the secret society of wrongness, of a
Yeah,
label.
because we're so entrained that anything that's in our body, anything in our psyche is ours, but it's not. Let's do a little expansion exercise.
Thank you, Helen.
So let's drop our barriers and let's just expand and just see how far you go. Because we are not our body. We are that space between the molecules. So just find the edges of you, not the body, but you, not the skin, but you. Do you feel the walls? If you're inside, do you feel the walls of your room? Go out maybe 1,000 miles, 1,000 kilometers, 10,000 miles, 10,000 kilometers, and keep expanding. Allow yourself to be bigger than Earth. And now, just sense the emotions and feelings of other people, because that's what you do. But now that you're so big, how much are they affecting you? Not that much.
You can
Now
barely even
ask,
perceive them.
yeah, now ask, who does it belong to? Whew. And now ask again, who does that belong to? And let it go. And now expand even more into infinity. And now ask that question. Who does all those emotions and feelings belong to? Whew. Even by asking that question, it goes to the source.
Yeah. And the formal way that we generally respond in Access is to say, return to sender with consciousness attached. Whoever the sender is, going, oh, my stomach hurts, or my leg hurts, or I'm depressed, or whatever. And they're sending out all of their vibe of intensity or whatever, which may not be theirs either, which they may be picking up from somebody else, because so many people are broadcasting trauma. I love that, in the expansiveness, in that spaciousness that you were inviting us to be. You can know that it's there, but it is no longer like physically, like,
yeah, it's not contracting anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not solid anymore. It's just that expansiveness, that being present with everything and everyone. And also how much of the emotions that Earth took on. Because Earth is also a sponge for our thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
Yeah.
and pain. So
And
how much,
anger and rage and everything that's being directed at
yeah,
the planet,
the
at
abuse,
humanity.
pollution, all of that. So how much of our discomfort in the body is from Earth, asking us to contribute to it? So what if we actually took that energy of all the discomfort in our body,
Mm.
all those emotions that Earth is kind of like asking us to contribute to, and just send it to Earth. Just throw it on three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Whew. I don't know about you, but I feel much better.
So much better, yeah. It's so cool when you were saying that with the earth. The earth is asking, and the thing is, the earth asks in like earth language. and
Energy.
we
Energy.
don't necessarily receive it in the same way that earth is asking for it. So it is asking for whatever it is that we can tune into or whatever it is that we can hear, and it'll raise the volume and intensity if we're not responding. It's like a little kid. I don't know if anybody's ever had like a little kid holding onto their leg and they're really trying to get attention and, you know, get something from you, and the more you ignore the kid, the more the kid, you know, pulls on your leg and screams, and you know, the volume goes up until they receive something, an acknowledgement, an interaction, a something. And the earth, not from quote unquote bad intentions or bad vibes or anything like that, just simply, hello, is anybody listening? Hello, I need help. You know, is just communicating in the only way that we can receive it.
And same with people, because they broadcast it, their thoughts, feelings, and emotion. They broadcast their pain. They wear them on the sleeve like a badge of honor a lot of times.
Yeah, very much.
And then we come along and we empathize with them, we sympathize with them, and we try to understand how come they suffer so much? Why did they choose that? And all of those questions, they're not helping those people.
No.
And worse than that, those questions actually allows us to take it on. And when we sense it, we immediately go into, oh, I feel that. As words
I
have,
feel your pain.
I feel your pain, exactly. And part of it, we're so entrained, and when we feel, when we say we feel, words have vibrational intensity. So when we say we feel, it means we automatically solidify and put it in our own body.
Wow.
So how about whatever is going on with your body right now? Who does that belong to right now? Whew. Did you notice how it gets lighter?
Yeah, I love that. You just asked, and there was this, ah.
Yeah. So whenever it lightens up, it's not yours. So no matter how much you're trying to prove it's yours, it ain't.
You know, it's really funny. So there's going to be a bars class, which, by the way, for anybody who's watching this now or in the future, there's going to be this amazing bars class with Brendan Watt on the Jeepers. I think it's the 9th or something of July.
9th of July. And it's a global, so it's available.
Global. So everybody around the world who doesn't know how to run bars, or I know how to run bars, but I'll be in the class just because, oh my God, you know, how much fun to be in the energy of bars around the world. So for me, that's like, I'm a self-proclaimed bar slut. Somebody says bars, I'm like, I'm there, you know, whatever it takes, I'm there. I love it. So with that, anybody and everybody can have these tools to be able to choose something different and to recognize that they are not the effect of outside circumstances. They're the choosers of their reality. And the bars is like the basis, you could say, the first thing in Access. And so, you know, everyone in Access is asking questions. How could this How could we create beyond having a global bars class in a time when people are, are struggling, are stressed out, are confused about what the world is going to be like, whatever? What is it that we can invite people to as a possibility? And so somebody made a suggestion: go look on Instagram. What is it that people are posting? What is it that people are tagging? What is it that, Jesus, I looked at like hashtag mental health, at HSP, highly sensitive people. My goodness, there is so much, well, this is me, and nothing can change because this is what somebody else has told me that I be. Now, I was diagnosed as bipolar. I was considered highly depressed, like enough to be medicated for around 15 years. And none of that was mine. That was just extreme awareness. I didn't know that at the time. I had no freaking clue. Nobody ever told me you're born aware and you're picking up on other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Nobody ever said that. And so what would a conversation with people who supposedly are highly sensitive or labeled as whatever else, right? Depressed, introverted, even extroverted, whatever title you stick on it. What if it didn't have to be not only the badge of honor, but the only thing you are allowed to be? You are no longer you being you. You are now that emotion or that illness or that diagnosis.
Yeah, all those definitions. And we actually define ourselves so much by the diagnosis, by definitions of I am the mother, I am depressed, I am bipolar, I am whatever it is. So what if we don't have to? What if just by being who we are with no definitions, we can just ask, who does that belong to? Because those labels, they're not ours.
Yeah.
There is an app, and I love this app. It's free. It's on Apple Store and Google Play.
It's in the Android. Yeah, it's in the Android version too.
Everywhere. It's called Access Consciousness. Who does that belong to? Very fancy name.
Yeah, super creative. I mean, nobody would have any clue what that one's about.
Exactly. So it just reminds you to ask that question. And my recommendation right now, use that tool. Who does it belong to? For at least 3 days. For every thought, feeling, and emotion that you have right now, especially when you wake up.
And even physical things. Like I saw Cheryl's comment that my lymphatics have been swollen and move around my body, but haven't gone away yet. I didn't quite, doctor brain, I don't quite get all the details there. Maybe it would be better to hop off mute and ask specifically. But even physical intensities many times don't have anything to do with us. And they're either a direct question from the earth or perhaps your body giving you information about somebody else who's in the vicinity. I see Cheryl's face. Hi.
Yeah, it's so funny because y'all were talking about some other wacky stuff. I was like, oh, this is why I hopped on this call. But yeah, so it's weird. It's like my lymphatics, sometimes it'll get swollen in an area and then it'll go away. Then I'll move to a different part. And I've done like lymphatics and like herbal stuff.
You ask, who does that belong to, or what does it belong to?
What does it belong to? There we go.
Wait, okay. But can I add something to that?
Yeah, please.
Prior to the owning it, prior to the having to deal with it and having to say, oh, I've got to deal with this, my head hurts, my this, there you're like taking ownership of it. And as Helen was saying before, you're taking it, this is swollen again, I'm feeling that there's a wrongness here. You're already locking it in. If before, like a habit, before you go to the wrongness of your awareness, the situation, your body, whatever's going on, before you hop into that, go, okay, what is this? You know, is it even mine? And the thing with the who does this belong to isn't about figuring it out. Like, oh, it's the neighbor down the street, or oh, it's got to be my, you know, ex-mother-in-law, or, you know, this person who just had a you know, appendectomy, or whatever you call when you take the appendix out. Obviously, I've got zero medical education. But the thing is that we get so much information, and our bodies are really sexy, you know. They're so highly tuned, and they're so aware. They're so magical because they give us so much information, not only about the outside world, but about their own capacities, our own capacity, perhaps even as inadvertent healers. You know, we didn't necessarily come in going, I'm gonna heal the world. But we may have this capacity to heal that we're not even aware of, not cognitively there. Like, I never would have said I'm a healer, but you know what? When I put my hands on somebody, they feel better. And it's not me healing them, it's this like communication with their body, and their body heals.
So Cheryl, how much are you healing Earth? How much those lymph nodes are swollen and processing everything that the Earth lymphatics are doing right now?
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
So are you willing to let it go and send it back to Earth? Yeah. On 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And just allow, like every time when that comes up, ask your body next, like right now, body, can we lower the intensity of information?
Yeah.
Because we don't have to suffer with that much intensity. Like Rachel was saying, the kid will knock on your pound pretty much on your body to get attention. So ask, okay, I'm listening, I'll hear you. Stop that much. Just lightly touch me. Take or tell me something. Yeah. And I'll give you whatever you require. Because I had horrible migraines before I started Access, before the foundation. And I would suffer intense headaches with nausea, with like throwing up, the whole thing. And so suddenly, when I'm in foundation, Access class, that's 4 days.
It comes after the bars, for any of you guys who may be total newbies. Suddenly,
the facilitator asked me, it's like, who or what does that belong to? And I'm like, oh my God, it's Earth. Because whatever it's what, it's Earth.
Right.
And so I started playing with that. I would give that headache to Earth on 3.
Yeah, that what we were doing before with the 1, 2, 3s. I know you know, Cheryl, but not everybody who may be watching this in the future knows. Everybody here currently
like right now we're training us. Yeah, so we're just giving that energy on 3, 1, 2, 3. And I ask, body, can we lower intensity next time? So next time it was less. It was literally less. I wasn't throwing up anymore. And I'm like, body, I'm listening. Can we lower even more? And now it's just a little heaviness, I would say. So I know it's there, but it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, okay, Earth, what do you require? Whatever it is on 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's so easier. But saying that, if we don't ask that question, then we have to suffer with the consequences, because we take it on and have to go to the doctors trying to figure out what's wrong with us. What if nothing is wrong with us?
Yes. And I know that. It's like so crazy. It's like, I know it's like symptoms, but it's not. And I know it's, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that in this reality, back to that again, it seems normal to have to go and do all of the normal steps of having somebody from outside of you tell you. I mean, I remember being in a class a few years ago. I was in Costa Rica for one of the 7-day classes. And I was great the first day. I was fantastic still the second day. By, I think it was, or maybe the second day I already wasn't. I don't know. I started feeling terrible, but like terrible, like feverish. My throat closed up. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I couldn't anything. I knew it didn't belong to me because first of all, I know if suddenly like that, I mean, it comes from something. So I had the awareness that it wasn't mine, but it wasn't moving. It wasn't moving. I was still holding on to it because I was going in my head to try to figure it out, to try to see who does it belong to rather than just letting it the hell go. And I remember it was like 4 or 5 days. You were there too, Helen. It was like 4 or 5 days of not being able to do much more than I sat in they had more of a turnout than they had expected. And we had these like floor recliners on the floor in front of the stage. And so I didn't go to one of the massage tables or the proper seats. I was there on the ground. I brought my pillow and blanket with me. I know it's Costa Rica and it's hot, but in the room, the air conditioning is on freezing mode. And so I would hold on to the pillow because I wasn't going to miss the damn class. I didn't care how badly I felt. I was there. There's Gary. And he looked at me and he goes, "Who does that belong to?" And I said, "I don't know. I know it's not mine, but I can't lift my head up off the pillow," because I was going to the head all the time. It took receiving a text. I got there. I think I started this like on the Sunday or on the Monday. On the Thursday, I get a text from my daughter's best friend's mom. And she said, "I just wanted you to know." And my daughter had played with her daughter just a day or so before I went to Costa Rica. And she wrote, "My daughter has scarlet fever." She actually didn't write it to me. She wrote it in the school chat for the other moms. "So just so you're aware, in case, your kids get symptoms or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, great." As soon as I saw the text, my head went back up. I was able to eat. I was able to drink. There was no fever. There was no soreness. I was able to rock and roll through the rest of the day. All it took was just this acknowledgement like, "Oh, that's what we've been doing. We've been taking scarlet fever out of people. That's so interesting. What a capacity." Would I have known that before? No. But my body was exhibiting the symptoms of all of that without actually having the thing. And as soon as I saw the text, that's it. I went in the morning. They used to have a really nice lady there making eggs, Juanita. And I went in and Juanita was like, "Will you have eggs this morning?" And I said, "Yes, Juanita, now I can eat eggs." Because I had just gotten the text and suddenly I felt great. So how much of what we've relegated, into, well, I have to deal with this, isn't really anything we have to deal with.
We don't have to. The idea is because we're suffering, it doesn't have to suffer anymore.
Right.
We can let it go.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for my very first foundation, of course, the other classes afterwards, but that's changed my life. Even that one tool that we learn, it's actually now in bars, but the foundation has another 100 pages of amazing tools, the energy flows and everything else. And by the way, there is going to be a few foundations coming up. One that we're doing together, Rachel, remember?
Yep, the 17th of July.
Yeah, and it's going to be available online. I actually am opening my doors for a couple of people if they choose to come here. So it can be online and
that's awesome. I haven't done that yet. So far, it's still just online. We'll see if they allow.
No, I just did the foundation with 2 people, and I'm doing a small body class. So hopefully, well, we are a lot. Like in Illinois, they do allow us up to 10 people, I think, 5 to 10 people, as long as they are 6 feet apart.
Well, that's the thing that's so interesting. It looks like there are so many limitations, so many like rules and regulations. in this reality as to how people receive, where people can receive, when people can receive, who they can receive from, why they should receive from them. So many different points of view. And it's fascinating to me because so much of that doesn't hold water, really. We can
No.
perceive the energy. You know, when I facilitate a class or I facilitate a book discussion, I'm moving energy throughout the whole conversation. There is a shift, a perceptible difference, a modulation, a space that opens for people who are participating. When people lay their hands on one another, oh my God, I've taken several body classes with you. It is amazing. And every single one is entirely different. And that to me, like, why am I taking yet an, sorry?
Yeah, but the body class you cannot do online. That's
No, you can't do that online. But the thing is that even long distance, I mean, like,
yeah.
my mother is in the United States. I'm in Guatemala. I can still work on her body from a distance, although it's not the same ever. His bodies really enjoy being touched. It's not the same as putting my hands on her physical body. If I were there, and she keeps asking, when will this be over so you can come run my bars? For her, that's like, you know, heaven.
Exactly.
But it's so interesting how much we can truly receive when we don't have all of these definitions or all of these points of view and all of these limitations, like barriers and barricades as to how we receive. What's the rightness or the wrongness of the receiving? Who can it come from? I mean, it's really mind-blowing. When we get out of the way, what can change and what can shift and what can show up. And
Yeah, and that's what
love
actually
that.
foundation, like all the access tools, foundation, choice of possibility, bars, they all kind of teach us how to get out of our heads and to be ourselves, how to not take on other people's shit, how not to kind of like worry about stuff that is not even relevant to our lives.
Yeah.
Because there is so much information out there, so much lies. And it's so easy to discern. You just ask, truth, is that true? And it's so simple. There's so many tools we use, just being the question, not going to conclusion, oh my God, this is so bad. Oh, I have this.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I feel
mind-blowing. And that's in a bars class or even in, you know, this Facebook Live. You know, it's, you can ask a question and open your world versus you go to a conclusion and you literally conclude it. You end it. You put a point on it and that's it. That's it, period. End of discussion.
Because
you know,
close off the possibility. Because if you have a conclusion, nothing, it's a judgment, and nothing that doesn't match that conclusion, you can't even see that. It cannot come into your life anymore.
Yeah.
So again, let's remind people to use the tools. Like, who does it belong to? And ask the question, what is that? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And if yes, how can I change it? How does it get any better than that? All those tools.
And easier than this. Hey, body, how much more ease can we have here?
Yeah. And body, can we lower the intensity? I hear you. Earth, I hear you. If it's another person's pain, I hear that pain. I sense it. What's required here? Okay, I'll send some energy here.
Or you may get information that your body requires going for a nap or for a walk barefoot in the grass, or, you know, to just allow the breeze to touch your skin, you know, or something. You'll begin to perceive what it is that your body requires. And what if you gifted that?
Exactly. And hopefully we'll see, some people might join us for the foundation on 17th.
That would be awesome. And what other foundations are you doing?
I'm doing one in the beginning of August. And I'm also doing body classes, which is now This
I
one
so
that's coming
want to
to
be there with you, my darling. Running processes is
yeah,
such a gift.
maybe
And
in
just,
August. Maybe in August. Maybe by August we'll be totally open.
well, I don't know, because here it's August 15th is what they've just delayed the airport opening to. So we're trying to figure out how to get my son here, our son here, to try to figure some way, because this is just ridiculous. He's been quarantined in Texas since
Yeah.
the middle of March.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of like.
we'd like to see him. I haven't seen him in way
Let's
too long.
change that. Let's practice
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because that energy, like 1, 2, 3, can change any situation.
And contribute to things. Oh, and it's just sorry, as I'm 1, 2, 3. You know how before, I love this. You were mentioning that you had the migraines and that you asked the body to lower the intensity and you would gift it whatever it required. Well, what a revolutionary idea to actually begin our day or end our day or during the day, whatever, to ask, hey, Earth, do you require anything from me? Preempting the tug by the Earth, actually, hey, do you require a contribution? What contribution could I be here? What contribution could I be that might even totally avoid by me being proactive, by me choosing, by me, actually initiating this, would avoid
Even
some.
more than that. It's more than that. Today on Obesity Clinic, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, had a telecall. And today he actually told, why don't you continuously contribute to Earth?
Yeah.
Without even initializing, just asking, it's like, body, whatever Earth requires, just give it.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Hi,
Hi. So with that, I think we'll part. It's already like, I know we planned for about half an hour.
Yeah, that's okay. A few minutes over, not a big deal at all. I'm so excited. Larry's waving. Hello,
Yeah.
darling. It's so cool. I love that. What if we just live, breathe, and be this continuous contribution to whatever is required on this planet?
Yeah.
What would that shift? What would that change? Come on in, Margarita. She's got a comment. Hi, sweetness.
Hi. So what's your comment?
You're muted.
Oh, now I'm here.
There you go.
Hi.
Hi.
So remember, Rachel, I asked for contributions yesterday on the chat
Yes.
because I've been feeling like terrible for the last 5 or 6 days. I had this terrible headache and my neck hurt and all my back hurt. And I started thinking this was COVID. And I was completely sure this was this diagnosis. And I was freaking out because I went into the operating room on Monday, and then I began all this huge storm in my head about me bringing this disease to my patients. And so I asked for this contributions, but I did this a little late in the afternoon. But before that, I went to the lab at the hospital and said, I need the test. Please do the test. While doing it, they were putting the swabs in my nose, and I was completely relaxed. They were like, are you not jumping? No, I'm not. I was like, and I was actually thinking about Rachel and saying, pock and pot this swab, because it's not going to hurt you. And then for the night, I was sleeping like apparently good. Then everyone in my house was freaking out. And today I got the result and it's negative. And I kept asking, who does this belong to? I still don't have the answer. I have no idea who this
It
belongs
doesn't
to.
matter.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to know.
I
Just
don't.
return it back. No, just return it back.
It's so much simpler than having to try to figure things out in the head.
Yeah.
It's
And is it
amazing.
who? Yeah, Margarita, is it who does it belong to, or what does it belong to?
Yeah, that I've never asked.
Yeah, because a lot of people, especially people who have healing abilities, who are healers, who haven't acknowledged that they are healers, they are sensing Earth. There's been so many earthquakes in the last week,
Yes.
and they were like over 6, over 7. So Earth is requiring our contribution. So why don't we contribute right now? as we are. And you can use your symptoms and just give it to earth.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Because what looks like pain to you is actually yumminess and joyful energy for the earth.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and expand. And from the expanded space, it's much easier to contribute. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whew, how are you feeling now? Yay!
It feels so good. My hands are like happy hands.
Yeah, I think we'll end with this.
Wow. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And thank you, Helen, for this conversation. And thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, and Earth
Thank you,
and
everybody.
all of us. This is, wow. I am so grateful that I found these tools when I found them, and that I began to recognize that I know and that I am aware of so much more than I ever imagined possible before. I mean, this was not reality for me. It was always about having to check myself in for somebody else's point of view. How much do I know? What am I capable of? What am I aware of? What contribution can I be? That's a game changer. That's a world changer, a reality changer. And that, to me, also, it began in the bars class and so expanded in the foundation class. So if somebody is here that watches this and hasn't taken a foundation class or would like to take another one to get out of anywhere where they're stuck and to have the tools to out-create everything that they've ever even imagined would be possible, I recommend it. Go to accessconsciousness.com, look for a foundation class. I'll post our foundation class beneath this. You can also post the links to the body classes that you're facilitating, Helen, because if you're anywhere like where you can fly, like if I were in the US, I'd be there in Chicago, you know, or Buffalo
I have a few
Grove.
people flying now. Megan just texted, I'm on my way to Chicago today.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
it's such a gift. Such a gift. Thank you for being that invitation in the world.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. So I guess I'll turn off the live. How do I do that?
I think you have to go there and go stop it live, and I will stop the recording.
Yep.
And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.